Hey class, today I'm presenting on two different learning theories and eventually I'm going to explain why they support my philosophy of education. First is progressivism. Progressivism is a theory of education that is concerned with learning by doing. It believes that children learn best when pursuing their own interests and satisfying their own needs. The main purpose for education is not for completion, instead revolves around cooperation in developing problem-solving and decision-making skills. This theory was derived from pragmatism, which is embedded and shown throughout progressivism. There are two main advocates for this theory, which are Don Dewey and William Kilpatrick. Dewey's ideas and approaches to schooling revolutionized ideas which have remained fundamentally important to education today. His ideas with interaction were the foundation of his philosophies. Next is Kilpatrick, who next to Dewey was the most influential progressive educators of the period. He wanted the school's curriculum to reflect to some extent of what the students' interests were. Next is constructivism, and this is where students construct their own knowledge and meaning through hands-on and problem-solving activities. The major theme of constructivism is that learning is an active process in which students construct new ideas or concepts based on their current or past knowledge and experiences. Just like progressivism, this also has some of its starting roots in pragmatism. The top three advocates of this learning theory, sorry if I butcher their names, is Jean Piaget, Jerome Bruner, and Lev Vygotsky. Piaget was one of the first psychologists to make a systematic study of cognitive development. This study concluded with the fact that children think in different ways than adults do. He contributed many detailed observations and invented tests that revealed different cognitive abilities. Bruner was also a well-known psychologist. Some of his most famous works come from the process of education, in which he states four main thoughts. This includes readiness for learning, where he explains that schools waste a great deal of time postponing certain teaching that are deemed too hard for students. Second is incorporating a spiritual curriculum, which describes revisiting basic ideas repeatedly upon them until the students have fully grasped the concept and ideas. Third is initiative and analytical thinking, in which the school must be providing the right conditions for intuition to flourish. And lastly, motives for learning, which is explained by having content being connected to students' interests. The last contributor is Vygotsky, and his main ideas stress the fundamental role of social interaction. Progressivism in the classroom. Curriculum can be described as experience-centered, relevant, and reflective. Progressivism also integrates several subjects which would not reflect universal truth, a particular body of knowledge, or set of prescribed core courses. It would be responsive to the interests, needs, and experience of the individual, which varies upon their different experiences. It would also have an open classroom environment in which students would spend a considerable time in direct contact with the community or cultural surroundings that go beyond the confines of the classroom. Constructivism in the classroom can be shown in many different ways. There are 6 major principles emphasized within the cognitive theory. Perceptual features are the ways in which problems are displayed to the students. The organization of knowledge is a main concern of a teacher. Learning with understanding emphasizes the importance of meaningfulness and retention, and cognitive feedback confirms the correct knowledge and corrects faulty learning. Goal setting is important for motivation for learning, and it sets an example of how the students will make future goals. And lastly, divergent thinking, in which students have to see themselves as creative and original. So, how my personal learning theory supports my philosophy of education. For this, we're going to go to a YouTube video. and watch my personal learning theory.
Alright, so I'm going to explain how progressivism and constructivism fit into my philosophy of education. First, I agree with the main purpose of progressivism, which is learning by doing. Students need to be able to use their senses to fully understand what they are learning. By allowing students to be involved and active in learning and working to solve problems, gives them direct hands-on experience that can be used in the future or real world. As an educational theory, it encourages the learner to seek out those processes that work and to do those things that best achieve desirable ends. I would like my future classroom to be child-centered and let them approach things that they're interested in. I chose cognitive and constructivism because I believe with a little guidance, students should be encouraged to come up with their own ideas and conclusions. This can be shown in today's classroom through project-based learning. It encourages students to plan, think, reason, and incorporate their own creativity to solve problems. Decision-making is essential to students in order for them to complete tasks and learn from mistakes. It gives them real-world problems to solve in the safety of the classroom. Lastly, I would like to not confine myself to these two philosophies specifically, because depending on student schools, curriculum, and other factors, my philosophies differ. For example, although I believe in learning by doing, the theories that I have mentioned do not think that learning about the past, great literatures, or cultural heritage is very important. They want to focus on the present and the future. But I believe that learning about the past is also just as important. It ensures that we do not keep making the same mistakes and repeating history. So with that being said, I'm going to add perennialism and essentialism to my personal learning theories, because I believe the specific parts that I mentioned before are essential to learning. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.